Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today on the webinar hosted by 219 Green Connect. I'm Kathy Sipple, your host, and today our speakers will be Gabrielle Prakunas and Hubert Morgan, representing Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and we're going to be talking about the Regional Comprehensive Plan as well as the Public Participation Plan. We will be keeping audience participants on mute today to preserve the audio quality of the recording. This whole presentation will be available as a video and available hopefully via NIRPC's website or also the 219 Green Connect website. So if you'd like to share it or see any part of it again, it will be there for you to review. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our speakers and get started with their presentation.
Thank you, Kathy. My name is Gabrielle Prakunas, and I'm the long-range planner here at NIRPC, and I just want to thank everyone who is participating in this webinar. It's another way of sharing some information about NIRPC and the public participation plan we have. For the goals for today, we would like to share information about what NIRPC is, what is the comprehensive regional plan, and also how that ties into our public participation plan. So to kind of go over what we will discuss today, a little bit information about NIRPC and our 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan. We're going to introduce the Public Participation Plan, what that entails, what are the new additions that are in this version since our last update, which was in 2007, and we will go over the revised sections of that plan. And lastly, we will provide a timeline or next steps about this plan and when it will be adopted. To start off, a little bit of information about what the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission is about. We were created back in 1965, and we are known as a council of governments, which we have a board of about 53 elected officials that are part of our commission. And we are also a metropolitan planning organization, or an MPO. So we are federally mandated to do a long-range transportation plan. And we cover the counties of Lake, LaPorte, and Porter County. And we also provide technical assistance to our local governments. We also house the region's data and other resources. And to give a little bit of a background of our region, we currently, of the 2010 census, the population of Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties is about 770,000. And as part of planning for the future, we look at the projected population growth. And we look at the year 2040, and we're projecting to have an increase or an additional growth of 170,000 people. And that is very important as we plan for the future. That helps us to plan more smartly and understand where or how to plan better. We also look at our existing land use and what does the land provide and what does it include. And here you can see that the majority of our area is in this light green, which is agricultural. That is very important in planning because 57% of our region is agricultural land. So we need to make sure that we preserve that section and not try to encroach or develop more into that part. But as you can see along the lakefront there, we have more development in those areas. And so this is important as we plan for the future, is understanding what our current land use is. And we've just completed our 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan. This is the first time that we take this plan for the 3 regions and make it more comprehensive. For in the past, since we are the designated metropolitan planning organization, every 4 years we have to do a long-range transportation plan. But this time, looking at the year 2040, we decided to plan a little more comprehensive and include the environment, economic development, land use, and social justice issues, and how that kind of blends together and balances each other out. And we've been fortunate to receive and be recognized as the 2013 American Planning Association award for a comprehensive regional plan. So that is quite an award for us, and we are happy to and pleased to receive that. The 2040 plan kind of focuses on those 5 areas that were mentioned, and we look at how growth and conservation balances and ties in with transportation, and how that looks into the environment as well as our economic resources and into government. So those are our 5 focus areas that we have in our plan. And the plan is also provides tools and strategies for handling that anticipated growth that we have for the year 2040. An important part of this plan is engaging the public and making sure that we share information and listen to the needs of the region. And so we started back in 2008 with this plan, and we started on the Forum of the Future of Northwest Indiana, where we listened to the many residents' visions and hopes and opportunities for the region. And from that, we've been able to create a vision. And here is the vision statement that we have, and this guides our plan and our development. As you can see, we have a region that is vibrant, a region that is revitalized, accessible, and united. Those become our 4 core principles or visions we have. And the plan also focuses on certain principles that lead or that guide this plan in our region. And these are our 4 principles: is reinvesting in our urban communities, such as Gary, Hammond, East Chicago, and Michigan City. For in the past, we've seen that those are the cities that have lost the most population. And so supporting and just focusing on that kind of helps regenerate the entire region. We also look at ensuring that we have a balance with environmental justice, and also protecting our environment and the features that we have and how they relate to the land use and transportation. And lastly, making sure we integrate land use and transportation so there's easier connections through jobs and transportation and different modes of transportation. And this is our vision in a more taking that vision statement and those principles and putting it into a picture format, and this is what we see for the future. And again, focusing our reinvestment in those core areas along the lakefront and making sure that we protect our environmental areas and the cities that are currently there, making sure that we don't grow outwards, but that our infrastructure, that we already have infrastructure in place, and just continuing to rebuild on that and not moving outwards is one of our key areas for the plan. And we look towards implementation, again, is focusing on livable centers, on the cities and municipalities that already exist, and revitalizing those areas, and making sure that our environment and improving on our air, water, and land, and making sure we tie in workforce development and the economic development areas that we have, and integrating different transportation initiatives and programs, and making sure that that we do have all modes of transportation, looking at the transit as well as our non-motorized with trails and pedestrians, and working along with local governments as well. And now we will transition into the public participation plan.
My name is Hubert Morgan, and I'm going to just touch on and create some context as we transition from what you just heard from Gabrielle. She spoke about the importance of having a strategic plan for a region, and that strategic plan is this 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan. I have to say that getting a national award from our peers creates a challenge for us to live up to what that award states. And that award looked to Daniel Burnham and the work that he did over 100 years ago to look at not only the Chicagoland region, but Northwest Indiana and Southwest Wisconsin as one region that cohesively needs to strategically move forward. Gabrielle mentioned the population growth that we anticipate, but first I think that we need to think about what happened to this region about 40, 50 years ago, when in the 1960s we precipitously lost population in all our urban areas and created a challenge for us to be able to look at how we can strengthen our region by both keeping the people who live here currently, people who work here, and also for the people who might want to invest in the region, both in terms of jobs and moving here in terms of residence. So it's with this that this comprehensive plan looks at how do we look at the 41 cities and towns and encourage people to have the type of livable centers that this plan articulates. And it's with that that we feel that we have an opportunity to attract enough people to reach a population threshold just shy of 1 million people. The map that you also saw just shows how urbanized our region is becoming, creating the challenge between the urban part of our region, suburban part of our region, and the very valuable agricultural land and green areas that we have. So how do we communicate this strategic plan to the over 3/4 people that live in the region? That's why we have a public participation plan that kind of articulates for not only NIRPC's staff, but for the stakeholders that we have in the general public, that this is the manual in which we will use to involve people at all levels and to encourage people to participate in ways that kind of our democracy asks us to do. So with that, I am just going to repeat the kind of this visionary statement that speaks to having a vibrant region, having a revitalized region, an accessible region, and a united region. Because it's with these tenets that we then speak to involving people across our region and why we had to update our public participation plan. So the last public participation plan that we had was in 2007. And this document really spoke to why, as an agency, we needed to engage our population. As we progressed from 2007, the seminal work that we had in terms of the comprehensive regional plan became even more important for us to reach out to all different types of stakeholders to be able to understand what we do here at NIRPC, why the strategic plan was necessary, and an important part of that, which was the Transportation Improvement Plan, how that works with each of the cities and towns. So that document started to take shape, and now we are in the process of updating that. Early last year, we reached out across the 3 counties to bring together a task force that would help to, in turn, reach out to the stakeholders that they represented. So we wanted to make sure that we had a cross-section of people geographically and in terms of different issue areas that they either advocated on behalf of or were activists around. So we ended up with about 19 members from each of the 3 counties that we represent, Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties. It was important that even within those counties, we had people who represented, municipalities, who represented the environment in terms of transportation. All of these stakeholders are critical to our mission, and it was very important to do that. So what we did was we built on that 2007 document and had more intense work placed in the document around our Transportation Improvement Plan and the process of modifying any of that work. There's a whole redesign of the public participation process itself. And there's this matrix that we created that I will share with you in a little while. New techniques that we will use in terms of reaching out to our population. 5, 6 years ago, the advent of how we use Facebook and Twitter and these types of techniques weren't being used then. So we wanted to make sure that they were at least on the table for discussion for this particular plan. So let me just kind of quickly talk about the Transportation Improvement Program and why it's important in this particular document. This transportation plan, this program, really brings federal dollars into Northwest Indiana for the cities and towns to be able to look at how can they, from a transportation improvement process, look at their roads, their highways, rail, things like that. Those dollars are then leveraged with local dollars to be able to anticipate growth in communities, revitalizing communities in terms of those federal dollars, transportation dollars. And it is that then attracts private dollars to complement that work that's important for cities and towns. So a city like Michigan City or East Chicago or Taos or Portage or any of these communities come to the table and they apply for funding. So it's with this knowledge that we now know that the stakeholders that are there need to understand how it is that those dollars are being spent. And it's with this program that we feel that it was important to articulate in this document how you as the public and key stakeholders can become a part of that process. We speak about comment periods and where minor and major amendments need to be done. This is a document that's on our website, and we would encourage people to come to the website and actually look at that document, because it is federally mandated that we make it available to everyone who wants to see it and comment, especially during these comment periods. We also wanted, though, to be able to say that there are some requirements that we need to abide by, both federally and in terms of being the MPO, but we wanted to raise that bar. We wanted to make sure that if you're a stakeholder and you are interested in our process, that there was a way of being a part of that. We also, though, wanted internally to NIRPC to be able to say to staff that when engaging any stakeholder, there's this manual that we will anticipate that staff will look to be able to design an engagement that is as involving as we can do. So there's an outreach plan that gets articulated. You know, how do we reach those critical people to be part of that conversation? How do we design an agenda to be able to be as inclusive in terms of the goals that we need? How we discuss in those meetings, how we deliberate in those meetings, and how do we get an action plan out of that? All of those things are articulated in this document. How do we set up the room to be as inclusive for everyone? We were very pleased to involve people from the disability community to make sure that there are things that we were taking into consideration when we were going to have a meeting, that meeting is as inclusive for everyone as possible. There are techniques that we wanted to bring into the fold. We have new techniques now and new tools like Facebook. NIRPC has multiple Facebook pages, but there's a main Facebook page that NIRPC has, and one that also is encouraging people to step up to the mic and get involved. There's a splash page that speaks to part of the environmental community. There's another page for people who kayak and people who ride. All things to widen the circle of participation. If there's something that you are particularly interested in, we are trying to develop a tool for you to find a way to participate. You'll see on the screen Twitter. We know that people follow different issues with Twitter. We have just not yet gotten to the point where we are actively using Twitter, but we feel that we had to at least have Twitter as a technique, because tomorrow we might figure that out and we might encourage you to follow us that way. Webinars. This is why we're here today, because we are delving into another tool to be able to involve people in the work that we do. But tonight, you might feel that, probably I should say tonight, probably tomorrow night, to be able to go and see what we spoke about, but it's at your time. We also have on this list Friends of NIRPC, because we will be reaching out and we will be asking people to adopt an advocacy cause that we might have and become a friend in areas that we might not have thought of. We have staff members who are interested in being master gardeners, and we might get them involved, and you might become a friend of Mary's, who is a master gardener here at NIRPC. But we need to think about ways to involve people in the work that we do here at NIRPC in ways that we haven't in the past. One of the things that we do, because this 2040 plan is here not only for us, but for the young people who are across our region, we go out and we actually meet with young people And we frame the discussion that we have with them in a way that if you are a high school student, add 30 years to your age, and you might be at an age that you are the leaders, the mayors, the aldermen, or just the residents of our region. We need to get involved from a civic perspective because we need you to blaze the trail of having a region that's vibrant, not only for today, but for tomorrow. What you see on your screen is the level of detail that we have in this public participation plan, because we want people to recognize that there's planning for our meetings that go into the type of depth in terms of being able to set those rooms up, look at who needs to be at the table in terms of our stakeholders. We need those stakeholders to be a cross-section of the people who live in our region. So we need people who are faith-based. We need people who are young people. We need municipal folks. We need business folks. And we need those small discussions to be facilitated in an ideal setting. But how do we get them there? This is all part of the outreach strategy that's part of this plan. If we need people there from the business community, if we need people from the faith-based community, it means that it takes time, and that process of designing that is why we set up a meeting that designs this process probably a month or two prior to our having our community meeting or community forum. So this just starts to articulate not only how the meeting space would look, how a table of participants would look, but designing it over time would look. This is here because sometimes and too often we ask ourselves the question that not enough people come to our meetings. We send out flyers, we send out emails, and no one comes. We have to always consider that the meetings that we have might be important to us, but we might not be making it as important to the people who we are expecting to come. So those of us who remember in our college days that we studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we want people to participate because they have solved the needs that are most important to them. So things like, can I meet my obligations in life, which might revolve around, am I safe? Can I make my house payment, my rent payment, and things like that? When all of those things are met, typically people are able to give of their time from a civic perspective. If we are looking for people to come to our meetings and those basic needs aren't being met, you find that people have to make choices between those needs and coming to our meeting. Our meetings tend to be abstract, and if they can't think that it's important enough to come, we have to go above and beyond what we do in terms of our outreach to reach those people. Those people are a part of us, and it's important to recognize that if people don't come, it's not because they don't think our meetings aren't important. It's just that we haven't made a good enough pitch to them. Even when they make the choices, too often people are apathetic about, is our voice important enough to make a difference? Is our voice important enough to make a change? People are ambivalent about participating. It is our responsibility to reach out to them to get to the point that they understand why it's important, they understand that there is buy-in that we need, they understand that there's a commitment to participating. This is all the work that NIRPC is putting in place to make sure that the work that we have here and the work that's being done in our citizen towns and in our counties, we can get people to get engaged and get people committed and get people involved. This matrix that we also think through if we are having a meeting, we ask ourselves the question, do we need to meet in order to share information? If it's just information that we need to share, is there a technique that we can do to actually do that? There's a promise that we make to our public in terms of getting people involved, getting people to consult with them, getting people to collaborate. So this matrix just articulates both internally to NIRPC and for people outside of NIRPC to understand what needs to happen for us to have different types of meetings. This meeting that we're having today, which is a webinar, is just enough information that we are sharing with people, but not enough information to necessarily bring people together face-to-face. So there are these techniques that we use when the goal is to just share. A webinar might be the best thing for us to use as opposed to just calling a meeting for the sake of meeting. We just wanted to just talk about some of the areas in the public participation plan that we did most of our work. The 2040 plan was definitely one of them. Environmental justice and the impact that it had not only on the plan, but in terms of how we engage parts of the population based on race, based on people's access to transportation, based on some of the federal requirements around environmental justice. The goals and objectives for this plan are also parts that we rigorously went over and revised. The techniques that I just mentioned earlier, how we inform, how we involve, how we consult with, and how we collaborate with our public are all areas that we take very seriously and internally work through for every opportunity that we have to engage our public. And then we also evaluate each of these processes that we get involved in. We did extensive work with people who advocate on behalf of people with disabilities. And because NIRPC entered into a consent decree with Everybody Counts, we did extensive work with participants from Everybody Counts to make sure that how we go about our work definitely met the areas in the consent decree. So there's a timeline in terms of where we are today and what we are going to do in the next 45 days or a little bit less than 45 days to reach out even more extensively than what this webinar will do, to be able to get people to comment on the plan and get people of all types to be able to respond to the plan. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these things. We are extremely happy to our host to have not only hosted us in Valparaiso in terms of one of the green drinks that we had there, but she's hosting us today on this webinar. So we've had two of these green drinks, one in Valparaiso in January, one that we just had a couple of days ago in Michigan City. But we are planning at the end of March to have 3 pretty involved and engaging meetings in each of the 3 counties. So one will be in Lake County, one in Porter County, one in LaPorte County. And the places that we will have them are being worked out logistically now, but that will be on our website as soon as we can work those details out. But one in LaPorte County, one in Porter County, and one in Lake County will happen that last week in March. So we're trying to have at least a month's outreach time, logistics time, and time for you to plan to be able to attend those. March 29th, the public comment period will close, and we will take all of the comments that we have gotten from across the region in all of these meetings that we are hosting, and we will look to the public participation plan to see how those comments will impact the document. We will bring that document back to the Transportation Policy Committee at the beginning of April, and hopefully we will be able to bring it to our full commission meeting in April for adoption. So I think that we have covered a lot of this. Before I go to the slide that lets you know how to get in touch with the staff person here, I just wanted to just touch on just how important it is for the citizenry across our region to recognize that there's an agency that's responsible for strategically looking at the work that our mission revolves around, and looking to the vision that was kind of articulated earlier to be able to communicate that. And I'm just going to speak to the vision again, because Northwest Indiana has the challenge of being able to use this plan, implement kind of the pillars of the plan to have a vibrant region, a revitalized region, an accessible region, and a united region. And we can have that if people participate, and participate in ways that challenge the leadership of our region, both in terms of the city and town that you might live in, the county that you might live in, to be able to advocate on behalf of its residents. And if we are not doing our job, it's your responsibility as residents of the region to then hold the leadership accountable for that. You can do that in ways that this public participation plan kind of encourages you to do. So with that, I think that we have probably gone through this a little faster than we thought. I would ask our host, Kathy, to then see if there are any questions. On the screen at the moment is Gabrielle's contact information. If people do have questions or comments, by all means send that in, but we're here to answer any questions now.
Thank you, Hubert and Gabrielle. I appreciate it. This is Kathy Sipple once again. And for anybody who may have joined us after I announced how the toolbar worked, if you do have questions for us, you can type those in on the toolbar under the area that says questions. So I'm not sure if you just did such an expert job that we did not have questions or if people didn't catch that in time. But right now, I do not have questions in the queue. So let's give it another couple minutes and we'll see if we get any in. But while we're waiting, I'll just say I am happy to have been asked to participate on the public participation task force. So thanks for that. That is why I've taken such an interest in getting your message out via the Green Drinks meetings and hosting this webinar. So I appreciate you taking advantage of that, and ask that anybody on this call please share the link after the fact with anybody who you think may have really wanted to attend but was unable to do so live. As Hubert mentioned before, you can watch this on your time. You can replay it. You can, look at some various options for how to respond. We've got Gabrielle's email up here. Hubert, can you please also tell us the Facebook page name again? Is it Involve Indiana?
Yes, it is. It's Involve Northwest Indiana, and probably the easiest way to get there is going to our website. And at that point, you will see NIRPC's Facebook account, and then you will be able to get to the other Facebook accounts.
Okay, good.
But it's Involve Indiana, and it has a microphone as its cover page that it encourages you to come up to the mic and get involved.
Great. And again, we are looking for comments during this public comment period, and time for that once again ends, did you say March 29th?
March 29th, yes.
Okay.
And there are opportunities to be able to both comment and get engaged in one or more of these 3 meetings that we will be having, 1 in each county.
Great.
Not sure what city we're going to have it in just yet,
Okay.
but it will be on our website, which is nirpc.org.
Wonderful. And I really like your new website. It seems very logically laid out. It's very clean and updated. So kudos to NIRPC for making those changes as well.
And Amanda is here. I'm going to give her a shout out for managing that process. So yes, thank you.
And then one thing that I don't think we mentioned is where can people view the current draft? Is that also on the website?
Yes, it's on the website.
Okay, so can people do a search for public participation draft, or how would they navigate to get to the draft that is open for review?
So it's on the right hand side of the of the homepage.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to make myself the presenter for a second, and I'll just go right to your site so that we can show everybody what it looks like and give a little tour. That might be a good way to do it. Let's see, change presenter. Let's see how good my technical skills are in midstream. It's always interesting. Okay, here we go. All right, so are you guys now able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you've got the NIRPC's homepage right now, and again, that's nirpc.org is the address. And
yes.
as Stuart said, you can click on the Facebook link, and you can get to one of the NIRPC sites. They're at 122 likes right now, so we'd definitely like to see them get a little bit more support there.
Definitely.
Go ahead and like them, and you can get some more
and right beside that, there's the YouTube button.
Okay, great.
That has the NIRPC video.
Good. Good. And then for the, let's see, I think I remember the public participation plan is actually, is it under transportation, or give me, yeah, public participation. I think it's right there. Maybe the 8th bullet down under transportation. And if you go there, you will see public participation. About 3/4 of the way down the page is the draft of the 2012 plan. So if you click on that, you can get a PDF file or a text file, and you can take a look at exactly what is in existence that is open for public comment right now. So that might be a really good thing for people to do prior to attending one of the regional meetings, or even prior to, you know, crafting a response or a question for Gabrielle. So please give it a look. We are really looking for people to give their input. That is the purpose of the public participation plan. So again, I want to thank our speakers today for joining us, and I think we do not have further questions. So thank you.
Can I just extend my thanks to you? Can I do that?
Well, I'll let you do that, Hubert.
So for those people who are participating and people who will participate, you know, from a civic perspective, we have to give kudos to people who find that it's important enough to bring people together to talk about the things that are important to them. And Kathy, just thank you very much for the work that you do in Valparaiso around green drinks, because every month she hosts something in Valpo around issues that I'm just going to broadly say the environment. So Kathy, thank you for inviting us to that and allowing us the time to be able to share with people who came that day around that work. So thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome, and I was happy to extend this web platform. I do a lot of volunteer work, but I will say if anybody needs help doing a webinar, what I actually do is social media coaching and technical, you know, outreach for companies and nonprofits. So if anybody would like information about that, they can certainly check out my own website, and I'd be happy to talk to you about how to put technology to work for you. and that's findable at mysocialmediacoach.com. So thanks for that, Hubert. I do appreciate it. And I will make this video recording available hopefully tonight, but no later than tomorrow morning. I think that's about it. So we'll go ahead and stop the recording for now. Thanks so much again to our speakers.